Hi, I'm Chelsea, and today I'm going to show you how to use Lightroom to enhance eyes. I'm not going to provide a photo file today because you can just follow along on any portrait, but I recommend that it's a woman because I'll do a little bit of makeup, and you don't want to do that to a man or a child. I mean, maybe you do. You know what? I take that back. You do what you want. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is select the adjustment brush, and the effect that I'm going to use is Iris Enhance, and I'll make my brush a bit bigger. You can press O to turn on your mask, and if you want to change the color, press Shift and O. You can do green, white, dark. I'm going to go with red since my eyes are green. And I'm just selecting the iris, not the pupil or the whites of the eyes. So if you press O again, then you get rid of your mask and you can see that the Iris Enhance just kind of sharpens, and well, you can see exactly in this panel here what it's doing. It enhances the clarity and the saturation a little bit and ups the exposure. And it's subtle. I should mention I'm keeping it really subtle. I always see that the eyes can kind of be over enhanced. So what I'm guessing is going to happen, because this is what always happens to me, is that I do all the edits and then I make the person look like a crazy, creepy eyed person, and then you go in and you dial it all back about 20-30%. So I'm just going to stick with that. It's going to be my method. Okay, so I created a new adjustment brush, and now I'm going into my effects and I'm selecting Dodge because I want to lighten. And can I zoom in more? Oh Lord, I can't zoom in more, but I'm just going to, here, let me put on my mask, select the whites of the eyes. And if you're a little bit sloppy, like I'm being, that's okay. Because you can go to the erase brush, and let's see, let me put my flow almost all the way up and drop the size and just clean up my selection a bit. I'm just going to subtly whiten the eyes, brighten them a little bit, the whites rather. I think that overly whitened whites is one of those things that can make enhancing the eyes look really unnatural and creepy. You look at a portrait of somebody, you don't want to think, wow, their eyes are terrifying. You want to think that's a nice portrait, or that's a good picture of Uncle Bob and Aunt Susan. Okay. So let's see. This is where the exposure was, and then it just raised it a little bit. If you want to incrementally raise these, you can just hover over them and use the up and down keys or left and right. And that's subtle. Sometimes if my eyes are red or my subject's eyes are red, I'll also just lower the saturation a little bit. Not too much because it gets very gray looking, but. Ooh, just raising the highlights a little. Okay. And then I created a new adjustment brush. And the next thing that I'm going to do is lighten again. And this time I'm going to lighten around the eyes. So I'll make my brush a bit bigger. And just doing like a triangle under the eyes, because when you lighten under the eyes, it actually brings out the eyes. This is something people do when they do makeup. And I'll go to my erase brush again and lower the flow, and then just blend this in. Let me make my brush bigger and blend it in. And you can notice that I did kind of a triangle under the eyes. Kind of like what you see when you use Rembrandt lighting, if you're into that sort of thing. Okay, I'll make a new adjustment brush again, new mask again, And I'm going to also lighten around the eyes and do this part of the eye here. That makes the eyes look bigger. And right above the pupil, that makes the eyes look wider. I bet you're like, whoa, Chelsea knows a lot about eyes. It's true. I do. If you lighten under the eyebrow, then it makes the arch look higher, which I don't really need, but I don't hate it. Sounds like I think I'm cool. I'll select a new adjustment brush, and now I'm going to do some burning. I'm kind of like all over the place. Maybe I should have just done the iris first, but you know what? Just gotta go with it. Just gotta do what works for you. And I'm just selecting the lash line. Let me put on my mask so you can see what I'm doing. I'm getting into the lash line. I don't want to go too far here because then if you put dark colors on the inside of the eyes, it makes them look closer together. And it's usually not like a look that people are going for. And use my erase tool. Oh, my flow is down. Silly me. And just get it out of my eyes and off of my waterline. This part right above the lashes is the waterline. And you want that to be lighter, not darker, because that makes your eyes look bigger. And you can see if I adjust it down what I did. I kind of like using that as a guideline. Let me see. I'm just going to blend it in a bit more. It's a lot of making new brushes. I just keep pressing new over and over again. The reason why I do that is because you can go into any of these little pins and you can see what you adjusted and you can go back and readjust them. So just making a lot of new pins, a lot of new adjustment brushes means that you have more control over your final edit. So I can go back in and say, well, the whites look too bright, and I can specifically change that. I brightened a lot of things, but if I had linked the whites of the eyes with the lightening I did around the eyes, then maybe one thing was bright enough, but another thing wasn't, or vice versa, and I wouldn't have control over that. I'd have to erase things and redo them. So this just makes it easier to go back and adjust every little change that you make. You can see this is the iris brightening, and you can see it all right there. Let me see. Okay, so I'll make a new adjustment layer. I'm going to go back into burn, and you can see I'm selecting these effects, but then I kind of go in and customize them. You can do that too. I recommend that. Okay. One thing that brings out the eyes is enhancing the dark line around the iris, especially if the person has light eyes, because then it makes the brighter inner part of the iris stand out. There's more contrast. And you can see there's a line there. And I don't want it to be too dark. This layer, I think I'm actually going to add a little sharpening to that. There we go. Making a new brush, and then I'm keeping it in burn. And I'm going to add a little bit of makeup, which you don't have to do, but I want to do that. I'm adding it here. When you're adding eyeshadow, you usually want to follow this line here from the corner of the eye to the edge of the eyebrow, unless the person has done something really unusual with their eyebrows, like where the natural eyebrow would be. You want to go from the corner to their eyebrow and kind of just follow this pattern. And then you can go a little bit into your lower lash line too. And my hair's here, so I'm just going to have to pretend that it's not. All right, so I'll erase this part, and then I'm going to lower the flow on my erase brush and just blend in what I did. I'll increase the flow because I just want to make sure that there's none in my eye. And I'll turn off my mask, and I'll lower the exposure a little bit. And then I want to also change the color. Okay. And I have green eyes, so I'm going to go towards a purpley color. And then also bring down the blues a little bit. Ooh, not too much. And now I have eyeshadow. And if you bring up the highlights a little bit, then you get some of the natural skin underneath, and it looks more natural. It looks more like it's on my skin than if I did this. It just looks like, it looks flat. It looks like it's just sitting on top. So you do this, and then the natural highlights of the skin show through, and it looks like makeup is actually applied. Okay, so we have eyeshadow, eyeliner, brightened whites, enhanced iris, everything a little bit sharpened. Let's do the eyebrow because that's important too. Eyebrows frame your face and your eyes, so if they're not well defined, then your eyes don't show as much. They don't pop out as much. Popping eyes, that's important. Okay, so I have a new adjustment layer, and it's burn, and you don't want to do too much. You don't want the person to look strange, but just naturally define their eyebrows. And your eyebrows should be at the edge of your nose and then out at an angle from the side of your eye to your nose like this. So from the corner of the nose to the edge of the eye up. Dang, my eyebrows are on point. Okay. That's pretty good. I don't think they're too darkened. All right, so let me zoom out and press Y to see the before and after. I don't think I went too far this time, actually. Normally what I would do is kind of take a break because I've been acclimating to all of these adjustments. Go get a drink or a snack or whatever, go do something else, come back and look at it again. And if your first thought is like, whoa, way too much to the eyes, then you know you have to go in and kind of undo some of your edits. But sitting here now, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks pretty good. Oh, so one last thing that you may or may not want to do is add more eyelashes. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes it doesn't. It can depend on the picture. I have more control in Photoshop, but I'm just keeping these videos to Lightroom. I get people asking me that sometimes, but I will get to doing Photoshop videos. But for now, this is what's happening. Okay, so we want the size of the brush all the way down, that small as it goes, and the exposure all the way down, just so you can see what you're doing. And you want to follow where the lashes already are. And make them longer. I know what you're thinking. You're like, this looks like a spider's leg, Chelsea. This looks stupid. You're right. But it's going to get better. You want to follow the natural arch. This is a lot easier with my Wacom tablet if you're into drawing. You want to follow the natural patterns of eyelashes. You can see that they crisscross. You can add like another one like that and like that. I feel like because I think it's the size of the picture, it's not letting me make my brush as small as I'd want. It works better when your brush can be smaller. But so this is what you do. And you make the lashes a little bit longer because what you're going to do is go to the erase brush and put the flow down a bit, and then you're going to erase the tip so that these fake hairs that you're making naturally taper off like real hairs. Those look a little bit crummy, but it takes a little bit of practice to get them straight. And now we adjust the exposure so that they're far more subtle. And then you can see it just makes the eyelashes a bit thicker. That's a cool trick. So if you like this video, subscribe because I'll have more coming out soon. I'll have more Lightroom videos coming out, longer ones on doing things like portraits and landscapes, shorter ones on enhancing eyes and lips and all sorts of things like that. And we'll also have some Photoshop videos coming out soon. So subscribe, like, share it if you like it. And if you really want to learn a lot about Lightroom, check out our book, our Lightroom 5 book. I think it's good, and I think you will too. Thanks, bye.